Hey everybody, it's Justin from Built, and this is the Milwaukee Carry On. It is item number 2845-20. I bought this with my own money. It's not sponsored. I had the idea in another video where we were talking about the value of tool batteries in an emergency, and I was like, well, let's try out one of these battery-powered generators. Basically, is a giant inverter that you put 4 of your tool batteries on. It then combines all of that together to give you a lot more wattage capability to run more powerful tools, your refrigerator, your sump pump. We're going to try it with a whole bunch of stuff, lasers. We're going to see what we can power with this. In particular, how large the starting surges are. When you first turn on a miter saw, the electricity spikes. It's called the starting surge. That's usually when you're going to trip a breaker on these generators. So can this handle everything that this would usually handle? Everything in my home, I'm going to try it all. And then we're going to look at putting some bigger batteries on here and see how long the runtime will work on this. And then talk about who this is for. Obviously, this is not for everybody. Nothing is. But I'm interested to see who this will be for. This obviously will be good in an emergency, for maybe crafters who are going out to a craft fair, for contractors. I'm thinking that this is better than this generator for me for my lighting company. So we're going to find out today on Built. Before we get to the test, let's do a little bit of comparison between gas versus electric. On gas, it's going to run pretty much perpetually as long as you keep filling it with gas. Gas is easily obtainable, and even in the middle of the night, you have a gas can that you can fill it back up. It is very noisy and it generates fumes, so you have to keep it outdoors for your health and safety. It can kill you if you have it indoors, and so you have to run long extension cords into the house or wherever you're working in order to run this. Over on the battery power, it is quiet. It does not generate fumes, so you can have it indoors with you at all times, exactly where you're working, so you don't need long extension cords. As your batteries deplete, you can put more batteries on there, as many as you have. In normal times, you're going to use this during the day and then come home, plug it in, charge it back up, and it's ready to go back out again. So if you're a crafter going to a craft show, contractor, if you're going camping, this one has some big benefits because it's quiet. This is very noisy, and there are usually rules at campgrounds for turning this off after a certain time. So this will give you some comforts all through the night. Now, in an emergency, we look at some different things. Over on the gas side, I lived through Hurricane Sandy. Texas has been without power down in Houston for 2 weeks right now. It just got hit by a hurricane. It's hard to get gas during a hurricane. Obviously, you save some up, but gas cans go really quick with this. So I was going to the gas station every day. It was half an hour away. All the ones around us were out. And you had to wait in a several hundred-person line to get gas just to fill this up. So it was an all-day thing just to get gas. Over on this side, I see how this can work for a one-day quick emergency. Tornado happens, somebody hits a telephone pole and knocks out your power, some sort of short-term one. I always have my batteries charged, so I just plug this in and boom, I'm ready to go. So awesome. In a long-term scenario, though, if you're buying this thinking that you're going to be able to last for 2 weeks during a hurricane, how are you going to recharge your batteries is the big question. You have to plan ahead. So you would need solar panels. You'll only be able to charge during the day. Hopefully you have enough batteries that you're able to charge during that time that it will get you through the night. That's why I pointed out you can refill this during the night, of course. So neither one of these is perfect. There are ways to make both work. So it really depends on what you're interested and willing to do, of course. On the top of the unit, you are required to plug in 4 batteries. It will not run unless you have 4 batteries in at the same time. There are 4 light indicators here when you are charging. If the battery is charging, it is red. If it's fully charged, it will be green. There are also these safety bars here that expand out, and then you can put a padlock here to keep it locked in place, and then these batteries can't be removed. I guess that's to prevent a simple quick steal, but honestly, this thing is not that heavy. If somebody's going to steal, they're going to steal the whole thing, to be honest. On the front of the unit, we have a rubberized power button. It turns on. It shows that we have all 4 batteries plugged in, and it shows our power rating indicator for here. We're fully juiced. There's also an icon for if it's going to overheat or there is an issue with the unit. Down at the bottom, we have two power ports for powering our items. We also have a port for a very heavy-duty power cable that came along with it to recharge your batteries while in place. So if I plug this in, it will turn off the generator functions and it will only charge. So you can't do both things at one time. It's not a pass-through. So when you plug this in, the batteries will charge. When you unplug it, it'll go back to generator mode. There are also two USBs, a USB-A and a USB-C in the front. The exterior has a roll cage, and this is to prevent, if it fell over, damaging your batteries. On both sides, you have a metal D-ring, and that's for if you want to strap it down or if you wanted to add like a shoulder strap to help with carrying it. I do find that the handles of the roll cage make it really easy to carry. This is probably, 25, 30 pounds. It's not super bad, but it isn't super light either. Let's start the tests. I'm going to run every test with a 10-foot, 16-gauge extension cable plugged into my watt meter. If we do get a trip, I will remove it and plug it directly into the unit if possible to test and see if without the extension cable we get a trip. This is programmed to show highest wattage draw, so we'll see whatever our peak is. Circular saw, 804. 54 on the chest freezer. 1467. The sump pump is running at 1018 watts, and it ran it. That is probably the most important thing in my entire house that I was concerned about being able to run with this. The router works at 180 watts. 11.8 watts. $16.75. Laser engraver. 54. Not very much. Plunge router. 1149. We're at 144 watts on this small TV. All right, let's try my jointer. If it's able to do this, I'm going to be incredibly impressed. Nope, so we got up to 1,000 watts, and then it was going to really jump. So we've now overloaded it. It has the little symbol flashing right here. In order to get rid of that, we have to hold the power button to bring it back on. So jointer is a no. So after doing all those tests, I would say that the outcome was extremely positive. I could power every single thing in my house with the exception of my biggest, most power-hungry power tool, that 8-inch joiner. That's technically a 220 machine that I have stepped down to 110 in here. So I wasn't surprised that it couldn't do that one. But otherwise, this shows that in an emergency situation, this will be able to power whatever you need to for the most part in your home. And as a contractor, you're going to be able to power pretty much anything you want to on the job site up to a certain point, of course. Although most of us are not taking heavy-duty 220 shop tools out on the site. So I think we're pretty good unless you're in like the commercial realm. Let's talk about batteries for a second. This machine requires 4 batteries to run. If you put 3 in or if you put 4 but one of them's dead, it doesn't work. It needs 4 to draw from at the exact same time to put out the amount of juice that it does. So that's a little bit of a difficulty for me personally because my personal battery lineup is an 8, 6, 5, 3, and a 2. So I do not have 4 of the exact same size batteries. What that means is that even though I'm putting in these 4, it's going to run as if I put in 4 3.0s. Because this is the smallest battery that I would be putting in with it. Now, obviously, once this one died, I could swap in the 2.0 and I'd get a little bit more juice, but it makes more sense to have 4 of the same size batteries, or at least close to the same size batteries. So if it were me, I would probably buy an additional 5.0 battery. Then I'd have 2 5s, a 6, which is very close, and then an 8. And then I could still swap in these 2 when those 5s die and get a little bit more time. Now I want to run some tests next where we run this array of different size batteries on my router table. We're going to just kick it on. We're going to see how long it runs for. And we're going to do the math and look at the watt hours versus how long it stays on. Then we're going to run it again with this. This is 4 of the biggest batteries that Milwaukee makes in the M18 line right now. They're always making new stuff. But these are the high output HD 12.0s. They run at 216 watt hours. These are huge and beefy. And this is what they put as their advertising run rate on all of these machines. So these were sent to me by my friends over at wastesource.com. They used to be called safetysourcesupply.com. They were the original sponsor of my channel, and they actually told me I should start a YouTube channel. So without them, I would not be here. So I'm always happy to be able to work with them whenever I can. Their philosophy, their website, is that they buy all your name brand power tools. Milwaukee, Bosch, Makita, Metabo, the list goes on. And they want to sell them at a very small markup. They would rather have super low prices and sell 1 million of an item, or rather than like compete with the big box stores at the same price, and you're probably going to just buy from the big box store. So check out wastesource.com. This 12.0 battery at the big box store, $250. At WasteSource, $175. That's $75 off. If I were to buy that 5.0 I was just talking about, $150 at the big box store, $65 at WasteSource. So definitely go check out their website. They have the best prices on your favorite power tools anywhere on the internet. All right, so I have the 8, 6, 5, and 3.0 battery plugged in. Yes, yes. Okay. It doesn't like when you take one out. So I have it plugged in. We're fully charged. We're going to plug this into my dust collector. This runs at around 600 watts normally, not the initial peak spike. This 3.0 battery is 54 watts. That means we're at a combined 216 watts of what it technically should run at. So let's do the math and we'll see how long it lasts. Okay, so we died at 13 minutes, let's say 35 seconds. It took me 2 seconds to get over here. That is a lot earlier than I thought it would be. But again, we are running it on the 3.0. So I'm going to take that one off. If we hit it, we're blinking. This is the 3. If we go to the 5, we are also almost fully depleted on the 5. On the 6, we still have 2 bars. We're about half. That makes sense since the 3 is depleted. And on the 8, we're around half depleted as well. So let's go ahead and put in the 12s. Simple math. The 12s are 4 times larger, so we should be somewhere around 50, 55 minutes. Let's see what we come up at. All right, we are at 73 minutes and 24 seconds. That is a much better time than the math said. So obviously we need to take a little bit of a closer look at this. Okay, so the results of that were a little interesting. You know, we ran 4 imaginary 3.0s. The 3.0, 5, 6, and 8. So the 3.0 is 54 watts. If you times that by 4, you get the exact size of this big one. That's 216 watts. So we should have been mathematically equal to 1/4 of the runtime over here. Or maybe even a little bit more, considering, you know, these other batteries had a lot more power to give. Maybe it would draw from it, you know, not equally, maybe a little bit more seeped in from here. Who knows? But overall, what we achieved with this was we only got 13 minutes and 35 seconds of runtime for 216 watts, which categorizes them all as a 3.0. That means we're getting 3.77 seconds of runtime for every watt that is used. Over on the big side, we have 864 watts, so 4 of those 216s. We lasted for 73 minutes and 24 seconds. We ended up getting 5.09 seconds of runtime for every watt. That's about a little bit over a second more per watt. So even though the math technically should be the same, it's not. So what that tells you is, A, you should be using 4 batteries of the exact same size. Putting in bigger ones mixed into the lot doesn't receive any benefits whatsoever. And the bigger the battery, probably the more stable of the depletion of the flow with this compared to maybe a smaller battery. It might be overheating the smaller battery a little bit. It might, there's a whole bunch of factors in play, but the end-all answer is bigger is better with this. You're going to see additional runtime above what the math says you should see. So that dust collector test, this only ran it for a little bit over an hour, but that was a very high voltage machine. It was running at around 600 watts during its normal operation. So if you translate this out into normal things around your home, like in an emergency, you'd be running a refrigerator or a freezer, you're probably going to get around 11 hours if you have the larger batteries out of that. Give or take, everything depends on how much your machine draws. You can get 24 hours most likely out of a television. So it all depends on what your use case is on that. Now, for a contractor, you're most likely not running something that's drawing power except for maybe lights 100% of the time. So you're doing intermittent stuff. So let's say I had this set up to my chop saw. I could get over 1,000 cuts on a 2x4 out of my miter saw with this machine. So I do see value there. I just wanted to point those things out because, seeing this only run for 13 minutes or an hour doesn't seem enticing, but I was putting it on a very high draw item. Let's end this video talking about price because ultimately this is the big decision maker too. We've established that this is a good machine. So it will run everything in my house except for the big joiner. So it's great for an emergency. Albeit most likely a short-term emergency. Also, as a contractor taking this out, you're not using it at a crazy draw. I don't think you're going to be taking out a joiner out onto the job site. So you're going to be able to run your power tools off of this too. It has very high peak wattage settings on here. So I'm happy to see all that. But when it comes to price, let's first compare over to the Ryobi gas generator. They're both $700. That's great. The Ryobi requires gas. Depending on where you are, this is a generalization. You'll spend about $3.50 for a gallon, and that will give you about 5 hours runtime. That is a price that over time will add up, but it's an overtime price, and overtime prices don't seem to sway people because that cost is over time, and it's very small increments. Over with the carry-on, you do need 4 batteries. And little batteries aren't going to cut it. You're going to need big batteries. So even if you're buying them from an amazingly cheap place like wastesource.com, you're still going to spend $700 on 4 of these batteries. And ultimately, you probably need at least 2 sets. So you're going to need at least 8 batteries. That takes the total cost to $2,100 on this. If I'm a commercial contractor and I already have all these batteries for all these tools that I have to run, whatever brand it is, maybe it's DeWalt, whatever, then maybe this machine can make some sense for me because I have these batteries and I have the ability to swap them out, which will give me a long runtime. If you're an individual buying these batteries, completely outclasses the price of this machine. It doesn't make sense, honestly, at that point, especially when you factor in if you wanted it to be for an emergency situation that's longer than, a single day, you're going to have to get a solar panel, solar charger, inverter, and a battery, and 4 chargers to be able to charge your second set of batteries when the other set is running. It just adds more cost to it. So, that's a lot of money. Now, there's something we haven't talked about that we should just here at the end because it really plays into the price thing, and that is the all-in-one units that a lot of these companies are putting out, like Jackery, Anchor, Blue Yeti, a whole bunch of different companies. They are batteries with solar chargers and inverters all in one. They're great for camping, and they're great for emergencies, and they're great for work too. So I pulled up 2 on the internet last night that are close in spec to what we're running here just to see what the price difference is. On the lower spec end, there's one from Blue Yeti at 768 watts. So just a little bit lower at the total runtime. But basically, both of these units could run a refrigerator for around 10 to 11 hours. It has a lower peak wattage startup at 2,000 and a lower max running wattage at 1,000. So you wouldn't probably be able to get a sump pump on there. So there's some things this wouldn't be able to do. The cost on this one, $399, very low. Now, then I went for one where I was like, I want to match the wattage specs. So I found one, Voteman, 3,600 watt peak, 1,800 watt normal running time, so exactly what the Carry-On does. Double the battery at 1,548 watt hours. So that's as if we had 8 of those batteries on there. And the total price on this is $579. That's a big, big, big difference. And so they're different things, but they serve the same purpose. And I was really captivated by the idea of being able to put my tool batteries on here and have a generator, and I can swap them out and charge them and stuff. And it's cool and it works and it's good. But that price tag is tough. So again, if you are a contractor, this might work for you. If you're an individual, probably the price is too high. But let me know in the comments. Let me know if I'm missing something. If there's a use case that I'm not seeing here, I want to hear from you on that. I think I'm going to make another video on all of these fully enclosed units, specifically even for construction. So I'm going to try out a whole bunch of these and see where we get with it, because man, that price tag is something. And again, I bought that with my own money. So having second thoughts about it, to be honest, now that we've gone through all this. I hope you got some good content out of this video. If you did, I hope you'll like and subscribe. That's what really helps me grow this channel. I want to say a special thank you to wastesource.com. When I started this video, I was just running it with my stuff, and then I realized, uh-oh, I really need to run this with some big batteries. Called them. They were nice enough to send those out for me. So thank you so much, wastesource.com. They really do have amazing prices, so go check out their website. Stay safe in the shop. I'll see you in the next one.